I would like to close out this week of Reformed Reflections with one more quote from Calvin's chapter on prayer. In this chapter, he goes through each petition of the Lord's Prayer, much like the Heidelberg Catechism does. In fact, the Heidelberg gets a lot of its theology from this chapter. And he's going through the sixth petition from Matthew 6:13, which says, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one." And what I appreciate about Calvin's quote is he takes God's sovereignty to the next level. He describes how God is sovereign over our temptation. So this is what Calvin writes. He says, "We do not here ask that we feel no temptations at all, for we need rather to be aroused, pricked, and urged by them, lest with too much inactivity we grow sluggish. For it is not beside the point that David wished to be tempted." It's from Psalm 26. "And it is not without cause that the Lord daily tests his elect, chastising them by disgrace, poverty, tribulation, and other sorts of affliction. But God tries in one way, and Satan in another. Satan tempts that he may destroy, condemn, confound, cast down. But God, that by proving his own children, he may make trial of their sincerity, and establish their strength by exercising it, that he may mortify, purify, and cauterize their flesh." So this quote actually sparked a really good discussion in our life group as we're going through prayer in the last few months. And what's interesting is how it compares the difference between God's role in temptation and the devil's role. So let's think about Job. The devil has to go to God on his throne and get permission before he can tempt Job and afflict Job. And since God is sovereign, he allows it. By his sovereignty, he gives Satan permission. And we can see in this chapter how they have different intentions. So Satan is trying to destroy us, trying to bring us down. But on the other hand, in God's sovereignty, through this pain and this suffering, God is wanting to purify us and maybe even to test us, to urge us, to compel us to stronger faith and stronger trust in him. He wants to mortify our flesh. In the Christian life, we are not promised that we will never be tempted, and that's not even what the prayer request says. Jesus teaches us to pray, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us." So it's not a bad thing to be tempted. It's a bad thing to give into that temptation. But in this world of temptations, we can show our allegiance to Christ, that show that he is our King, and they were servants in his kingdom by following the Spirit's guidance out of our temptation. And I think that's a really cool Reformed belief because it shows how God is sovereign over all things. It's not like evil has a chance or evil is in this even battle with good and with God, but the Lord is sovereign over all things.